One of the biggest contributions of India in our foreign policy has been towards United Nations peacekeeping missions. Indian soldiers have had a historic role in some of the most challenging assignments around the world, wearing blue berets as they serve the United Nations in extremely disturbed areas. At the moment, more than 5,700 Indian peacekeepers are deployed in 9 out of 12 UN peacekeeping missions. Joining us, a very special guest, Jean-Pierre Lacroix, the head of United Nations peacekeeping. Thanks very much, Mr. Lacroix, for being with us. India's had a very, very important role for so many decades now, from the 50s. Is there more that you expect of India and India's armed forces in the future?
Well, a very good afternoon, and thank you for having me. Indeed, as you were saying, India is one of the strongest supporters of peacekeeping, and it's actually the second largest contributor of troop and police to our peacekeeping operation. These men and women, Indian men and women serving under the blue flag, make a huge difference in the life of thousands of people around the world through their service under the UN flag. I have to say that beyond this critical contribution of India to peacekeeping, we also benefit from the support of India to our efforts to improve the effectiveness, the impact of peacekeeping. And I think to answer your question, yes, of course, from such an important partner such as India, we expect to not only continue our cooperation, but to jointly step up our efforts in critical areas such as a better protection of our peacekeepers, a better use of digital technology to improve the effectiveness of peacekeeping, and of course, continuous efforts in training, equipment, and also contributing to building up the capacities of other countries that are also contributing to peacekeeping. Sure. And I think India also has critical capabilities in that area.
Mr. Lacroix, do you see a future role for UN peacekeepers in Ukraine?
Well, I think the critical issues as far as peacekeeping operations are concerned is that there has to be a peace to keep, or at least there has to be a cessation of hostilities, some form of agreement between the parties to not only cease hostilities, but also to accept the presence of a third party to support peace or the implementation, for example, this is the implementation of ceasefire agreement. So that's the number one condition. The second condition is that there has to be a mandate for such a peacekeeping operation voted by the UN Security Council. At this stage, this is a very hypothetical question. Unfortunately, the fighting continues. And of course, everybody, and certainly the UN, would want these hostility to cease as soon as possible. But we are unfortunately far from such a situation.
Mr. Lacroix, there was this violent episode in Goma in the Congo a couple of months back. India lost some peacekeepers as well. Is the situation in the Congo becoming worse, or is it getting better? And what role have Indian peacekeepers had over there?
Well, first of all, I really want to pay tribute to the fallen Indian peacekeepers, those who were killed in Congo, but also the many others, 177 Indian peacekeepers who lost their life serving the UN flag. Now, in the eastern part of the DRC, the Democratic Republic of Congo, we're faced with a situation which is extremely complex because we have a combination of local conflict with armed groups operating along ethnic bases, but also with competing economic interests, exploitation of natural resources. We have a conflict that also has a national dimension, but also, and very importantly, so a regional dimension with tensions affecting the relation between countries in the region of the Great Lakes. So in this context, I think there is a multi-layered approach that is needed. One is the political approach, supporting political efforts, both at the regional level between countries of the region, supporting political process inside the Democratic Republic of Congo with the incoming holding of important national election and the efforts to build up national capacities, particularly in the area of security, and of course, very importantly so, our own efforts to continue to protect the population as much as we can. The Indian contingent is making a tremendous difference in these efforts of protection of civilians, but it is clear that we are in a situation that is very complex, very challenged, and in a very difficult terrain, and with very weak and lack of roads and infrastructures that are very difficult to challenges that are very difficult to overcome.
One final question, sir. Now, 2021 saw a doubling of malicious acts. Those actually went up from 13 to 25. Now, unfortunately, this trend has actually been continuing. There have been 21 fatalities because of malicious acts. Till the last data that the UN has provided is the 26th of August this year. So the question is this: why is this doubling of fatalities taking place? It must be a matter of huge concern.
Well, I think your question was about malicious acts and the impact on peacekeeping operations. And here, I want to say, first of all, it's clear that peacekeeping operations are operating in environments that are much more dangerous and challenging, with attacks against our peacekeepers by armed groups and using various tools such as mines and improvised explosive devices, attacks against our camps and so on and so forth. And so that it requires two types of efforts from us. One is to improve our capacity to protect our peacekeepers using all the tools that we have, the training, better equipment, better ability to prevent the threats. The second important work strand is to ensure that there will be no impunity for those responsible for these crimes against our peacekeepers. And in that regard, India has really taken the lead. India has raised the issue in the Security Council, the issue of no impunity for crimes against peacekeepers. And I think it's a very important move, and we look forward to continuing this work with India to better protect our peacekeepers.
All right, Mr. Lacroix, thank you very much for speaking to us, sharing your thoughts on the importance of UN peacekeeping missions in the current context. Thanks very much indeed, sir.
My pleasure. Thank you.